In the 1950s, the public was enamored with space travel and new technologies. Films like Destination Moon, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and War of the Worlds were box office hits. 1955 was a particularly interesting year. Walt Disney was building a 160-acre theme park to be called Disneyland in Los Angeles, and Howard Hughes was building the world's largest airline, TWA, in Kansas City. One event would bring them all together. Walt Disney wanted to build Tomorrowland as a key section of his new Disneyland, and he sold the naming rights of venues to corporations that were thematically connected. He wanted a space-themed ride, and who better to reach out to than Howard Hughes? In honor of TWA's 30th anniversary, Hughes agreed that TWA would sponsor the rocket at the Flight to the Moon attraction. The course of the TWA Moonliner was set in motion, on schedule for liftoff in 1955 with the opening of the park. Disney set his Imagineers to work creating the masterpiece, the Moonliner. Throughout 1955, the people of TWA were kept informed of the progress of the project through the company newsletter, the Skyliner. Every few issues, there would be a new story. On July 18, 1955, Disneyland opened the park to the public. And the tallest structure in the park? Well, none other than the TWA Moonliner. The Moonliner, built to 1/3 scale of the envisioned vehicle, stood nearly 8 stories high, 8 feet taller than the iconic Cinderella's castle. The exhibit was a hit with the public and with TWA employees. A group of employees and their families were taken to Disneyland to see the Moonliner and ride the attraction. They gave it glowing reviews. Howard Hughes liked the Moonliner enough, he ordered a second 1/3 scale model to be built to place on the roof of the new TWA headquarters building under construction at 18th and Baltimore in Kansas City, Missouri. The craft was built, and in 1956, the Moonliner 2 was delivered and landed on the roof. In 1956, Mr. Hughes, also seeing the future, placed an order for 63 General Dynamic Convair 880 aircraft at the cost of $400 million. The financial institutions said they would provide the funding for the purchase of the planes if Mr. Hughes turned over the control of the 80% of TWA that he owned. Mr. Hughes was resistant, and the two sides kept negotiating. On December 30th, 1960, Hughes Tool turned over the control of the voting on their 80% of the company. In early 1961, the board of TWA was recast to reflect the new reality. The funding was in place for their new air fleet, and Mr. Hughes was no longer in control. In 1962, TWA and Disney parted company, and the Moonliner at Disneyland was repainted to reflect the new sponsor, Douglas Aircraft, a competitor of General Dynamics. Later, in 1962, a decision was made by the new management at TWA, and the Moonliner 2 in Kansas City was taken down from the roof of the headquarters. Moonliner 2 was sold to the Spacecraft Travel Trailer Company, a local manufacturer of camping trailers. In 1970, Spacecraft Trailers moved to Concordia, Missouri, about an hour east of Kansas City. The Moonliner landed at a campground next to I-70. The rocket was on the landing pad in the middle of Missouri for the next 27 years. In 1997, a Disney collector from Columbia, Missouri, purchased the Moonliner from the campground and began to restore it to its original pristine condition. He re-outfitted it in the original TWA paint scheme. It is currently on display at the Kansas City Aviation History Museum. But the story doesn't end there. In 2006, the Nicholson Company, redeveloping the TWA building, decided to commission Moonliner 3, a smaller replica of Moonliner 2. They restored the building to its original TWA look, and they put Moonliner 3 on top of the building in its proper place. So 50 years after Howard Hughes put Moonliner 2 on the top of the building, Moonliner was once again landing in Kansas City.